Hi, you're listening to Childless and Moving Onward. This is the place where we talk about thriving in life when you're a woman who is childless, not by choice, regardless of the road that brought you to childlessness. Hi, and welcome to episode 36 of Childless and Moving Onward. I'm Gail Miller, a life coach, speaker, and physician, and your host of the podcast where I tackle the challenges of living life as a woman who is childless not by choice in a world that expects us to be moms and doesn't understand how it isn't possible for everyone. A world where the pain of our unwanted childlessness is not understood. This month, I'm focusing on the holiday season because, well, this is an especially challenging time of the year when you're childless not by choice. Today's specific topic is about setting boundaries and why doing so is healthy, not selfish. Now, boundaries may look like accepting invitations and setting limits on when you're going to be there. If you know that dinner is when it's all kid-centric, then all kid-centric talk, leave right after dinner, or tell them you'll be there for appetizers and skip the dinner, or come for dessert. Boundaries means setting the tone for conversations, putting a stop to the probing, insensitive questions and intrusive questions. It means taking care of yourself. Now, the holidays can be a time of joy for many, but for those of us who are childless not by choice, it can also bring up the feelings of grief, isolation, and pressure. So boundaries are vital. But we've been brainwashed to believe that they're selfish or rude. How is it that others pushing their expectations on us, others ignoring our needs, and others not supporting us, how is it that none of that is rude? But us standing up for ourselves and doing what we need to preserve our emotional well-being, how is it that that is seen as wrong? So I'm going to talk about why boundaries are essential, how to establish them effectively, and practical strategies to make sure you navigate this season with confidence, self-compassion, and self-care. So the holiday season is usually portrayed as a time for family gatherings, for its laughter and celebration. But when you're childless not by choice, it can also be a period filled with emotional challenges, ups and downs, left and right. Sometimes the ups are hard to find. It's more emotional downs. The focus at this time of year is on families, and children can heighten the feelings of loss or inadequacy. We shouldn't feel inadequate, but oftentimes do. So you may find yourself grappling with sadness over the family that you envisioned you would have, but don't and won't. There's often an unspoken expectation to conform to traditional holiday norms, and that can feel especially isolating when your reality is different. Family gatherings can bring up uncomfortable questions, comments about your life choices. And it turns into interactions that are really not just painful, but emotionally draining, physically draining. But recognizing these challenges is the first step towards empowering yourself to set boundaries so that you can protect your emotional well-being. The first off is, well, what exactly do we mean by boundaries? Not as defined by Aunt Libby, who will say your boundaries are selfish and wrong, but the definition of boundaries is in terms of your well-being. Boundaries are the limits we set to protect our emotional space and ensure that our personal needs are met. They are not selfish. Repeat that after me. Boundaries are not selfish. They are necessary for emotional health. So why do they matter? A boundary protects you from uncomfortable emotions and painful interactions that can worsen feelings of grief or isolation. Now, I know I talk about that the uncomfortable emotions are part of life and we don't want to push them away or pretend they're not there. But a boundary protects you from those uncomfortable emotions that arise in situations that don't have to be, in situations where someone else is putting on you their discomfort, expectations, their unfair view of what your life should be, and their unfair view with not understanding what you're going through. So this isn't about pushing away the uncomfortable emotions. This is about protecting your space from situations that don't have to be, that don't have to lead to you having these painful interactions. When you protect or when you set boundaries, you are prioritizing your needs and your well-being. So that gives you the space, the energy to engage in activities that are healthy for your emotional well-being instead of draining it. Boundaries empower you. They give you control over your interactions and what you endure so that you can navigate difficult situations with confidence. The problem is that too often we haven't been taught how to set boundaries because we've been told they're selfish. So let's explore some strategies for setting the boundaries during the holidays. The first, prioritize yourself by tuning into your feelings. We're really good at pushing them away and pretending they're not there. Oh, I'm fine. Okay. You force that smile on your face and the words come out of your mouth. Oh, I'm fine. Before the holiday season kicks off, take some time to reflect on how certain events make you feel. If something feels overwhelming or triggering, give yourself permission to prioritize yourself, your well-being, and deal with that situation in a way that serves you. And sometimes that means saying no. Sorry, I can't make it. Thanks for the invitation. Sorry, I can only make it for, the appetizers and then I have to leave. Oh, I can be there for dessert, but I can't get there any earlier. Other explanations aren't needed. The second strategy is to communicate clearly and be honest about what you need. When you decline invitations or you are saying yes, but only for a certain time, be straightforward, be respectful, be gentle, but you don't owe anyone an elaborate explanation. A simple, I can't make it, or I have to leave after dinner, whatever, just a simple explanation that only gives them the information you want to share. Don't overshare. Be clear, straightforward, and stop. And if they push you, well, why do you have to leave after dinner? Why can't you come for appetizers? Why are you coming late? Whatever it is, why can't you make it? I can't. I have other needs. I have other things going on. Whatever feels right to you. The third strategy is creating a support system. Let the close friends or family members who you know you can trust know what your experience and how they can support you. Have allies. Having those allies who understand your journey, even if they haven't experienced it themselves, but you've explained to them what you're going through, that can make a significant difference. The fourth strategy is plan ahead with responses to the intrusive questions and the insensitive comments. Anticipate questions or comments about your childlessness that might come up during those family gatherings, or if you have a work party and you may end up in these conversations with people you know, but they don't know your story. And they may ask, "Oh, how are your kids?" Not knowing you don't have kids. Why don't you have kids? So prepare some brief responses that redirect the conversation away from your fertility status. Redirect that conversation without you feeling pressured to share more than is their business. A simple, "That's personal," or "It's not something I'm discussing." But in addition to that, have 2 to 3 topics of conversation that you can then turn things to and that you would be able to join in on, right? So that then you can move from the talk about your fertility, about your uterus, or the one you may not have anymore, to something else. For me, I know when I'm home, when I'm back in Colorado, any conversation about the Denver Broncos is a great way to change the talk. It's an instant move away from my childlessness to a topic that most everyone is going to join in on. And while I'm not a football expert, I know enough that then I can join the conversation and participate and not feel like the outsider. But I also know that is a great conversation when I'm in Colorado to get the topic off of me and why I don't have children. Another strategy is to have an exit strategy. So have a plan in place for leaving early if you need to. You may say yes to invitations with the plan that you are going to be there the whole time. But sometimes that changes. Sometimes the events can be overwhelming. So have a plan in place for leaving early. Something to say to your host, "Hey, this has been great. Thanks for the invitation, but I need to leave." No explanation needed. And if they push, again, just "This is what I need to do." Like, you don't have to explain to people unless you want to. The other part is know where the bathroom is. So maybe you're at an event and you want to stay because you know there's something coming up that's like you want to be there for, or there are people you haven't had a chance to talk to that you want to talk to. Whatever it is, you may want to be there the whole time, but you've reached a point where it's like, this is enough. Know where the bathroom is so that you can take a break if that's what you need. And have your ally there to kind of help you navigate away from the conversation that maybe kind of tipped the scales here. And like, you're like, okay, now I need to take a break. If you know ahead of time which times are going to be particularly challenging, then plan to be gone during that time. Now, gone again could mean you've gone outside for a rest to get fresh air, you've gone to the bathroom, or it could mean, "Bye, I need to leave." So sometimes that means planning ahead with driving separately so you're able to leave when you need to. Or have a friend text you when it's time to go. "Hey, I have a friend. She needs some help. I need to get to her place to help her." If you're really not comfortable with the, "Hey, I need to leave." Or maybe it's not that you're not comfortable, but you have a particular relative who is especially probing and never understands the no, never understands that when you say, "This isn't what I want to talk about." So have a friend ready to text you and say, hey, I need you. I need to talk to you. Like, I'm upset about something. That's always a great excuse. But, oh, those family expectations, they are incredibly difficult to deal with. The reality is that family dynamics can complicate the boundary setting during the holidays. So, family members may have preconceived notions about your choices or may not fully understand your journey. Or there may be some touch of, we'll say, double standards in some situations where someone's personal life is off limits. Nothing wrong with that at all. But when it comes to yours, everything is fair game. For those of you who are listening, know that I am like rolling my eyes at this. And if you could hear it, it would sound like a dramatic orchestra warming up for a sympathy of sarcasm. And that's because what I'm talking about comes with a lot of experience of dealing with the never ending double standards. So when it comes to dealing with people like Aunt Libby or anybody else and their insensitive comments, the best response is a calm but firm one. Something like, I truly appreciate your concern about me, but my life isn't up for discussion. Now, if it's me saying this, especially in certain situations, I add to it and say, hey, my life isn't up for discussion, but I know you're going to be in full gossip mode behind my back and you'll be discussing me anyway. Now, not everybody is at that place, and sometimes I'm not. But because of the family members I deal with, I've gotten to that place where I feel very comfortable saying that most of the time. But I don't give it a second thought. It's snarky and like, you know what? They're going to gossip about me. I'm not worrying about being snarky. But even without the snark, when you just say to them, hey, my life isn't up for discussion, it reinforces your boundaries. Now, the next step after that is redirect the conversation. Maybe it's with humor. Maybe that feels right. Sometimes you're lightening the mood with humor can diffuse tension. Just make sure that the humor feels authentic to you. Depending on your family or your friend or colleague or whoever this is, humor can also stop that person who gets a kind of sick pleasure from making others squirm. Or maybe it's just you in particular they like to see squirm. The reality is that is what some people are like. But when you add in humor, it gives you control of the conversation and it moves the setting away from their objective of making you uncomfortable. Now, for some, this is unbelievable that others would deliberately use your pain to hurt you. But sadly, for many, it's the reality. Hopefully, not for too many. But if it applies to you, I wanted to give you this tip because humor is a great way to block their efforts to get you to feel uncomfortable and squirm. Now, among all these strategies that I've talked about, please don't forget about self-care. The holiday season can be hectic, painful, and hectic. So it's crucial to carve out time for activities that nourish you, that nourish your spirit. Self-care isn't just a spa day, though it certainly can be, and I certainly love them when I get to have them. But it's more than that. So go for a walk in nature, get a good night's sleep, more than one good night's sleep. Eat healthy. Consider incorporating mindfulness techniques like meditation or yoga into your routine to help ground you during the stressful moments. Establish new traditions that resonate with you, whether it's baking cookies, watching favorite movies alone or with friends, or volunteer for a cause that's near and dear to your heart. But create new traditions. Think outside the box. Remember, holidays don't have to look like they do in the movies or the way society says they should. They can, but they don't have to. And if they're not looking that way, there's nothing wrong with that. They don't have to look the way everything seems to look on social media. Don't forget that what you're seeing on social media is very curated. It's edited to make sure people's lives look perfect. And they're anything but. So use this opportunity to create new traditions that align with who you are. Invite friends over for a holiday meal, whether it's on the holiday, before or after, a meal where everybody contributes a dish, because that fosters connection without the pressure of family expectations. Spend part of the season giving back, whether it's a local shelter, community service. It really can create meaningful memories when you're helping others. What about a solo trip to recharge and explore new places? And maybe that will include that holiday day you stay away and you get to have a sense of peace. So, as I'm wrapping up today's episode on setting healthy boundaries during the holidays when you're childless, not by choice, remember that prioritizing your emotional well-being isn't just valid, it's a necessity. Boundaries are about honoring yourself and your well-being. They are about creating space where your energy isn't sapped. And maybe you can even thrive, even with the difficult society pressures and expectations. You deserve to have a meaningful holiday season in whatever form that takes for you. Okay, that's all for today's episode. Take care of yourself, set those boundaries, and nourish your well-being. And I'll be back with you next week. I appreciate you listening. If you liked this episode, help get the word out to others who are looking for this same help by giving it a 5-star rating, and please take 2 minutes to leave a meaningful review. It's easy to do. Just scroll down to the ratings and review section and tap on the stars to rate the show and tap on write a review. I greatly appreciate it, and you'll be helping others out too. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.